Hello, my name is Matthias, and this video will be about fetal alcohol syndrome, also known as FAS, and also about a person I've met, and it's affected my opinion on drinking, and I hope it will affect yours as well.
Stephen was born June 17th of 1983. Stephen had a measurable blood alcohol level at birth. Stephen was born with fetal alcohol syndrome. When a mother drinks while pregnant, the minute the mother feels the buzz from the alcohol, the baby is already passed out and growth stops. Stephen's mother died due to the complications of consumption of alcohol. Stephen's life was filled with doctor visits and many hospitalizations. At age 5, Stephen was placed in foster care in North Dakota and was legally adopted by his foster parents. Stephen has had a Harrington rod put in his back, causing him to be short in stature. He underwent open heart surgery at a very young age due to many holes in his heart. These are also due to consumption of alcohol by his mother. Stephen is well-mannered, smiles a lot, although he doesn't understand or know why he's any different. Stephen wears designer clothes and has many friends. Stephen graduated in 2004 from high school and works every day. Stephen enjoys many things: his trampoline, swimming, horseback riding, and spending time with his family. Stephen knows he's loved, and because he became a member of a unique family, Stephen's legacy will always live on.
Hi, my name is Matthew Mohn. I'm doing my Ego project. It is a video on fetal alcohol syndrome. Now, let's see some examples of fetal alcohol syndrome in the world.
You wanna go shred?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go shred.
You have an owie?
Fire.
Did you get burned with fire?
Yeah.
You did not. Did you?
Fire.
Stephen, look at me. Did you get burned with fire?
Burn a fire.
Did you? Look at me. Did you?
Burn a fire.
When you play with fire, you get burned.
Burn.
Is FAS a big deal to you?
Well, it probably will be when I decide to have children.
Yes, it probably will be. Because, like, you have to be careful about, like, if you and, like, your wife or your husband or girlfriend or like that decide to get, like, have kids and that sort of thing, you have to make sure not to have any drinks or anything. And it could really hurt your child if you do. Because, and it would also hurt your pocketbook a lot, because, like, it takes, like, millions and millions of dollars, because, like, they have to have surgery and everything like that, and it would be really hard to do that, and just because it's one drink, and I think that would be really hard to do that, but yet it's so easy to just take that one drink.
Well, also, another thing is, I could not honestly expect my wife to not drink if I was drinking at the same time, too. I mean, that would be almost a little, yeah, that's kind of unreasonable in my opinion.
What do you guys think?
Well, if you're pregnant, you probably shouldn't be drinking.
Well, yeah.
Seeing as you should be looking out for the welfare of your baby. Don't think alcohol isn't good for you, let alone a baby that you're carrying. So.
Yeah.
Another thing is, you think about it, it's like, well, you're pregnant. It's gotta be. I hear it's pretty darn difficult to be pregnant. I can't imagine also being drunk at the same time.
Oh goodness. Oh, that. I don't even want to imagine that. Gosh.
Here's a question. Here's a pointed question on that note. Most women don't know they're pregnant for 2, 3, 4 weeks sometimes. How important is it to not drink? And when is it important not to drink?
Shouldn't be drinking in excess ever.
Yeah, in the first
So
place. But then I think if I think you shouldn't drink at all. But if you accidentally had a drink or purposely had a drink, but I wouldn't suggest it. The worst time probably to do it would be like in those early stages when everything's just first developing and everything like that, where it's like its heart and its brain are developing, because that could be like the worst amount of damage.
Well, also as another thing as well, like I've had ale before a little bit that my uncle homebrewed. That was really bad. I honestly didn't like it, but anyways, point was is that it's not drinking at all isn't the issue. It's just it's not something you would ever want to do if you're pregnant, because it is harmful to the child. It's also important to know, when there's a child in you too, when it's another whole issue. But it's just more of an awareness issue that you really need to be sensitive and know what's going on.
Think about this though, guys. 70 to 80% of under drinking age youth have access to alcohol and have had access to alcohol in the last 30 days. That's a statistic that they have volunteered.
When you mean by access, does that mean they've been able to get at it and have gotten at it and drunk it? Is it just I know where the alcohol cabinet is in my house, but I don't touch it?
No, 80% have had a drink in the last 30 days. In the state of North Dakota, 80% have had a drink in the last 30 days.
Ugh. Then again, that doesn't surprise me very much, because I hear kids talking about it all the time. Oh yeah, I got buzzed this weekend. I was like, okay, that's
here's
what I
another,
talk about, but...
Here's another fact that's out there. As many as 38% of women of childbearing age binge drink on a regular basis.
Well, like my mom, she would never get invited to parties because they knew that she didn't drink, and they always had beer there.
Yeah.
And they knew that my mom would not approve of that, so. And she was in high school when this was happening.
And like.
Does that make you not cool if you
don't drink?
Yeah, it's definitely a peer pressure thing. I mean, it's beer. Well, not at our school, but like beer is more of a social drink. A lot like.
Yeah.
It's not really like, honestly, I could not possibly understand why anyone would ever want to drink it, because
it smells nasty.
It smells it tastes terrible in my opinion. But I honestly think it's a social drink, and once you start having it, then it becomes more of something you just keep at home because you like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't really understand why you just like bring home a case of beer randomly without having any outside influence.
Yeah.
I can't understand that really, but.
Yeah.
Culture,
yeah, that too.
Culture, it's the thing to do.
Yeah.
I personally do like the taste of beer, but the alcohol I could do without.
Yeah.
Or like, now I'm wondering, because there's this thing in Germany that I've heard about where it's Kinder beer, and it's the beer without the alcohol, and like
that's available here too.
Does it taste the same, or does it?
It's a step. Yes, it does.
Well, then why don't people, if they like the taste of it, which I don't know why they would, but if they like the taste of it, why don't they just drink that instead?
Well, there's like O'Doul's too.
Yeah, it's a matter of.
My dad has.
They like the feeling they get from
it's a matter of it's a drug. It's a drug. It's a stimulant. It makes you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys that will leave work and talk about going drinking, and they'll go have 5, 6 beers and.
5, 6.
Oh yeah, that's.
And how big is considered a standard beer? Is it
12 ounce?
Yeah, 12 ounces is like
a soda can.
Like a soda can.
Like a soda
Okay.
can, right.
Yeah, because if I
You're
hear 5, 6
drunk
beers and
after
I'm
5
thinking
or
like those
6.
big German tankard things, I'm like, oh crap, that's
After
a lot.
3 or 4, you could be drunk.
Well,
Yeah.
well, what do you guys think about the peer pressure? How many guys are exposed to that kind of pressure at school.
Oh,
people talk-
probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
Not really.
Now you guys are the
Well, at my
unique
school.
because you're in a
Yeah, we
more of
do.
a private school, but
Or private school.
it's still
Where
there.
do you guys go? You at?
We go to Park Christian.
Oh,
It's still
I'm at
there.
North.
It's still there. It's just
Yeah.
probably not as obvious.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure that some people
At
do.
North High, it's very obvious.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because if you do drink beer, they know that if they say anything about it at school, something's gonna happen.
Oh, is it? So
Yeah.
it gets around pretty quick.
Oh yeah,
It
it
gets
was,
around, and
it'll
then
fly around.
the administration will.
and that, and then they're like,
Sure.
Yeah,
so.
Okay.
but like
Now,
it's.
how many guys know the penalties for you underage drinking?
For
like,
us, you could probably get kicked out of our school.
No, there's legal.
Like probably, I don't think you'd go. You could probably if it's reoccurring offense to juvie, or like parole or not.
Is that a $500 fine?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
$500 fine for you and whoever provided it.
Yeah.
And
And-
blood alcohol in school is .0.
Wait, there's a blood. So technically, you could have had a drink before school and then come to school.
If you get tested and your blood alcohol exceeds a certain point, you're out of school. It's
Well, what if there's? But there shouldn't be.
very small,
is it-
but it's still there.
.01 probably.
Oh.
You know, I'm on a random drug alcohol program at work. My job requires me to be alcohol and drug free
Yeah.
because of the industry I work in.
Well, yeah.
And
If
if
you're
I
like,
go to
oh,
work,
I would
beer,
prefer
drive
if
a
you weren't
plane,
in.
not a good idea.
if I go to work and they suspect I've had alcohol within a certain period of time,
Yeah.
and I'm tested, if there is any alcohol present, 0.002%, I'm off work for that day. If it happens again, I'm suspended,
And if it happens again, you're fired.
Yeah. pretty much.
Ooh, goodness.
Right.
But you know, it's some with that sort of job, you have to be strict about it.
Well, but that's coming
Yeah.
for all jobs.
Mhm.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's a
And it
matter of
should
time.
be for all
surgeon
jobs
around
because like
Highland.
even in an office, because you know you have those paper things where you put the paper in and you have the thing like that. If you're tipsy a little bit, you go there's an injury
Well,
right there. You know,
it's-
it's not safe.
It's productivity too.
Yeah, and that
What's
like
the-
if you're out of it, you're not gonna get
Also
anything
trips.
done.
You get step up and trip over your chair and fall and smack your head.
That too.
Yeah, but it has a significant impact on productivity.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Yeah.
health
And
insurance.
also, if the effectiveness of your work too is like, you're not gonna, if you're drunk and you're trying to, like work on a solder board, or, like work on a circuit board, you're not gonna get very far. You got like this little, you got a giant
Yeah.
magnifying glass
It-
trying to do
Imagine
microscopic basic work or something
imagine
like that.
the degree that alcohol affects the unborn. Now, just an example. This is has been studied numerous times. They're always trying to come up with an excuse to allow people to drink. Do this or do that, or what will it affect? Actually, recently the Surgeon General said no alcohol during pregnancy at all.
Yes.
For a mother to know she's pregnant, it's very difficult. It's not a matter of being aware. It's a matter
So
of
I think
if you're active, it could happen. Therefore, one shouldn't drink.
yeah, like I think if you've had it if you've done anything of that sort within 24 hours, you should not drink at all, and then just like don't drink within that period until you figure out if you have a baby or not. So yeah.
The cost, just an example.
Yeah.
Stephen's heart surgery when he was 12, that's over 15 years ago, was $300,000.
And that was 15 years
That was
ago.
15 years ago. His
It's probably like twice as much now.
his back surgery was $425,000.
Ah, your pocketbook must have
Oh.
been such. Dude,
It
it
still
was
is.
like
It still is.
gosh,
I'm still paying.
that would be.
I think we owed the hospital in Bismarck $500,000 at one time.
Wow, and like if you're like a single mother or something like that, that's kind of hard money to cough up. Or if you're in college, or
Imagine taking care of someone like that
yeah, and then you were taking care of that person, and then you got all this money. Oh,
Alright.
it'd be
for,
such.
for 18 years.
Well, I
Oh.
can tell you one thing is if you can't pay for your child and you done that to them, don't expect to keep it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it'll probably
And this
get
is kind
taken
of what
away.
happened to Steven too. Is
Well,
his
Mom
mother
died.
died.
Mom died.
Yeah, and I'm sure if she wouldn't have been able to pay probably for that if she kept on with her drinking obsession.
Because we've been spending all the money on the beer or the alcohol, so.
Also, when you
Okay, we've known about scientifically the effects of alcohol on the unborn since 1973.
And I think it's a little silly because if we've known about it for like 30, almost 40 years, then how come it's only now and even, not really even now, that we're doing more about it? It's just kind of silly.
What do you guys think the reason would be?
People
Probably
don't want to
because
give up their
I
habits.
want to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
nobody cares.
That too.
Yeah, people don't want to give up their habits just because they might have a baby that they weren't planning on. They're like, I'm not going to stop drinking because I want to drink.
Well, socially, like, like our culture is just like, it's about me. I can be active sexually, and I can drink if I want because they both make me feel good. And it doesn't matter what happens to anyone else or my child. It probably will happen. So
But then
that's just how it is.
And then the poor kid is just.
How many of you guys, before meeting me or Stephen, knew about fetal alcohol syndrome?
I had heard about it a little bit, and I kind of, common sense wise, that's just how I grew up, that it would be a bad idea to drink and drink by itself and be sexually active by itself, but the two together probably wouldn't be a very good idea. And it's kind of common sense, really.
I hadn't heard about it.
I had heard about it, but never known much about it. Just that it's a bad idea to drink and have a baby.
Yep, I had heard a little bit about it, nothing very much on it, so it was kind of just, oh, it's out there, I knew about it, but nothing.
Actually, I think like before I had heard about it, I just always thought that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said.
You know, I think you guys hit the nail pretty much on the head with it though.
It's kind of common sense.
It is common sense, but it's what Matthias said. It's a lot about, hey, me, what am I going to do? What do I want to do? You know, when you sit down and live a life and think about a life lived like Stephen, and you think about what his life is like, what he's gone through, and compare that, you know, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It absolutely. And why haven't we heard more?
Because the majority of people don't want to hear it.
Yeah, they're just shutting their ears to it. They're just.
And if they do hear it, they're not going to care because they're just going to be like, I'm going to keep doing it anyways.
Or they're like, oh, I have one person in one of my classes that's always like, it's something by the government. It's just the government trying to get us to da 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 da, and it's like,
Out of sight, out of mind.
I actually,
Yeah.
honestly, I've heard that. I've heard kids say
the government.
this is just something the government's trying to do to get us to stop drinking. I've heard that from kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
And with
Doesn't
Stephen
surprise
standing
me.
right there,
Yuck!
and
How
then
thick-headed do you have to be?
and then they
Goodness.
came into the classroom, and I made a point of talking about this is a real deal, guys. Or this is a real deal. About
That's what kind of insulting it was.
what was out there when Matt started this project, started thinking about this project. There was nothing out there like this.
So
No.
like everything, was it all like PowerPoints like this? It's FAS, those boring ones. I hate those boring ones.
What they used to do at Fargo North, when they wanted someone to talk about fetal alcohol syndrome, they used to invite someone from Cass County Public Health to come in
Okay.
and
Did
talk.
they know anything?
Well,
Well, that's,
you can go
that's
do
counterproductive.
you can go do the research and find the information
That too.
and talk about it. But what is more effective,
It's
Stephen?
be more effective if you had Steve in there, because with the county official, that even gives those kids who say, oh, it's the government, that just gives them more reason to say, oh, it's the government. But when you see the kid actually there and you say, oh, it's the government, people are just going to think, really, this person's stupid. They haven't got a clue. And then they're probably going to listen to Stephen more than the county official,
Well,
because it's the real deal.
It's a little more close to home when you see a person that's actually affected and someone's like, I mean, it's pretty obvious too. It's not like, he's normal. I don't see what the big deal is, because there's obviously a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, and like, if looking at Steven doesn't like change their minds, looking at the damage it would do your pocketbook, probably would. Because they're like, money, 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 mine, and I'm going to buy it on what I want and stuff. But if they have a kid and they drink and that sort of thing while they're carrying the kid, then it's going to mean all that stuff they're not going to be able to do. Like if they're planning to like maybe travel somewhere, but all that money's going to be going to the kids, so they're not going to get to go. So it'd just ruin it. And it would, but then if you didn't drink and then you had a healthy kid, then you could have a fun family vacation and go to like maybe Europe or Canada if you so wish.
But the first vacation I had was after Stephen graduated from high school and Randy, they were in a group home. That's the first real vacation I had. Other than that, I've never really gone, didn't dare go too far. Because I was close by.
Yeah. Because if you go too far away and you don't have any help if something happens, then...
Well, it was a life-altering thing for us. And it did, seriously. This was and we were prepared to do it. Think about that. Now, and that's something we should respond to, too. We made the choice to adopt Stephen and Randy.
Yeah. And it's generous people like you guys who pretty much saved those kids from probably die. Because Stephen, when he was in the coma with his mom, was in a coma because they were not eating and she was drinking. And so like, he could have died if, and then for the back and forth thing with his family members,
You guys have all been affected by Stephen, right?
Yeah.
And you've like directly seen what FAS is, and you know a lot more about it. So if some random person, let's say somebody from your school, was to come up and say, "Hey, you know about FAS? Why do you know about it? What changed your viewpoint on it?" How would you respond to them?
Well, I would tell them about Stephen and like how here.
Yeah.
I would tell them about Stephen really and like how much it's hurt him and it's hurt people like his family and how much alcohol pretty much ruins people's lives because of this sort of thing. And like he could have been a healthy, happy, and he is healthy and is happy. Not that that's anything wrong with that, but he could have been like he has the steel rods up his back, and so like if he falls and something happens and it jars one of those the rods, he could get seriously hurt. And it's all because of alcohol that happens. And so I don't think that it would be a good idea, and that's my viewpoint on it. So what about you guys?
I would say just seeing firsthand of how it actually affected a person, how it's actually caused him to have troubles in his life with all from his heart and his back, having surgeries on that. So
Yeah, and it's not good, really. It's not a good thing.
Also, as the experience of life that he can actually experience, like, I mean, I want to be an audio engineer. Say, like, the chances of him ever becoming that, having to work with, high tech, just being honest, I don't know if that's ever would really happen for him. I mean, he shreds paper for a living.
Yeah. I mean, like, because he can't process the high-tech stuff, so all he's going to be able to do is shredding paper, probably stapling paper, and that's all he'll ever do, and that's very tragic, actually, because, like, he could have, who knows, if his mother hadn't have drunk alcohol, I mean, he could have figured out the cure for cancer. And, so it's very sad, really, but instead of finding out cures for cancer and stuff because his mom drank alcohol, he's now shredding paper for a living. It's sad.
Yeah. Okay. I would just say that, drinking and being pregnant at the same time is not a good idea, and drinking in excess at any time is not a good idea because it puts at risk anyone that you would have as a child, and it kind of destroys their life. It takes away from them all the opportunities they would have had to do a lot of things, like have a family of their own and learn fun stuff like that involves technology and earning a living and going places that it kind of ties them down and they're stuck and they have to be within range of medical help, and it's just not it kind of destroys their life. It's not a very good idea.
Yeah. It's not good at all.
And one of the things about it is he's very good at shredding paper.
Yeah.
Because
He's very good at it.
he's not bored with it. Like you or I would be bored shredding paper. He's not bored with it. He's very good at shredding paper. You know, and I mean, it's unfortunate that that's all.
He'll ever be able to do
He'll ever
really.
I'm glad he's happy though.
Well, he is
Yeah.
happy. If you set him in a room full of paper, he would shred it all.
And then
And he
he'd probably
wouldn't
go
stop.
looking for if there's more.
Yeah. Well, if the machine broke, he'd come out and get you and tell you the machine's broke.
Huh?
I mean, he does. He's not.
He's not stupid. He's smart.
No. I mean, he does have some ability, but it's just very limited in
What he's gonna do.
what he's capable of doing. But it is sad. It's overwhelming. I don't think about it because, you know, we had up to 9 kids in the house, so it was kind of like, it was just another kid. It didn't really make any difference. You took care of them. You did the best you could.
Yeah.
You know, part of the reason I am like I am is probably because of Stephen. Just the way I act and pay attention with Stephen, you have to learn to communicate well.
Yes.
So
Because if you communicate something wrong to him, he's gonna get the wrong idea, and
what if he's sick?
yeah.
The example would be this. Stephen had a temperature one night. Had I not done something about it that night, if I didn't recognize that evening, by morning he would be dehydrated so bad that he'd be in the hospital. We went through that for a number of years, where if we didn't catch it soon enough, he was in the hospital.
That would be a lot of hospital bills.
He can't tell you. Do you know the first indication that Stephen had an ear infection was usually the blood running out of his ear?
Ah.
Because he
Because
never
couldn't
said.
tell you.
Well, his pain threshold was very high too. He cracked a bone in his leg, and it was a week before we figured out something was wrong.
He's got some tolerance.
It wasn't. I mean, we noticed something was out of sorts. So
Yeah, because he would be walking funny, and because it wouldn't
pain.
stay.
We recognized the pain.
Yeah, true. But
New topic. We talk about it before you respond. Okay. Why, with the resource of Stephen and people willing to do presentations on fetal alcohol syndrome, don't we see more programs in our local schools talking about this exact thing? As important as it is, what is keeping it from happening? Because I honestly, you guys know I've done presentations for years, and it's always one classroom at a time.
People like their beer.
That and
yeah.
people are afraid to bring up controversial subjects
Yeah,
in schools because they're afraid, oh, I'll get fired for having this in my
Exactly.
school or this in my classroom, or, you know,
Yeah.
people won't like it if I say that they shouldn't do this because
And
they
then-
like doing that.
Yeah.
You know, drinking or anything else, any other smoking or drugs or
Yeah.
religion in schools or anything like that.
Yeah, because like it would, like, people are afraid of, oh, if I, exactly what he said, really. And then also that, and some of the teachers themselves maybe have some alcohol issue, or they like to drink and they don't want to hear about it, so they just say, well, I'm the authority here, and so who cares? And that's really sad, really, because, you know, it's all this important information, and because that one person is selfish, nobody's going to hear about it, and then that's probably a few other lives ruined, really. So it's sad.
They only want to hear maybe just the good news, not the bad news. They don't want to actually see what would happen if you had alcohol while you just kind of want to keep the status quo and want to keep it how they like it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
they won't
change.
wanna
They're afraid of change.
What can you do to change this?
We can become teachers and that sort of thing, and make sure that laws are passed, and we can become law. It's really in our hands, really, because we're the next year's, like, sort of, we're next generation's teachers, next generation's government. We can make these sort of changes if if we so choose. And I hope most of us who are called to that do choose to make changes, because if we don't make the changes, then it's all downhill. It's not gonna happen. We have to do something about it. It's our generation who has to do it.
Also, making the choice for yourself to make sure that you don't,
Yes.
It's not just like, oh, I'm going to go out and tell all these people not to do it, but if you do it yourself, everyone,
Yeah,
no one's listening
teach
to
by
you.
teach by example, really. If you do it, and if you're saying, oh, don't drink and be pregnant, but you're drinking and being pregnant at the same time, then they're not going to listen to you. Be hypocrite. But if you live by what you're saying and don't drink and don't get pregnant at the same, don't do it at the same time, or don't do either, or yeah.
Yeah, like another thing would just be doing awareness, just letting
Yeah.
people know about it. Like, I know when I started, I didn't know very much about it until I met Steven. And once I met Steven, it was just changed. I was just like, wow, this is actually a really big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just need to raise awareness about it. If someone asks you, hey, have you ever heard of this? You tell them about it, or you set an example and you raise other people's awareness about the subject, and then they can spread the word themselves.
Yep.
Make sure your pregnant friends know. That's the important part.
Yes. Yes.
If you have any.
And that's out there.
Yeah.
That's out there. But unfortunately, usually that happens as a result of alcohol.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So like they get drunk first and then.
Normally it's an instant that starts the event. The event happens and all of a sudden they're here. So, it does.
Yeah. So.
Cool. So Matthias, how you doing today?
Pretty good.
Did you get a chance to meet Steven and Randy?
Yes.
So what did you learn?
I learned, I'm not quite sure what I learned. I think one of them shreds paper.
Okay. Kind of hard to communicate, isn't it?
A little.
A little. Yeah, that's pretty typical for kids with fetal alcohol syndrome. Very difficult. Did you notice the address that Steven gave you?
I didn't notice he gave me an address.
Okay, that's part of the problem with their communications is unless you know them well, it's very difficult to understand what they're saying. He actually gave his address where he grew up. He didn't give where he's currently living. But it is true, he does shred paper. But that's their life. If something happened, they would probably not know where to take him. It's kind of scary. Kind of scary if something happened and the police were involved, they would not know what to do. This chart shows the rate of fetal alcohol syndrome births in the U.S. As you can see, the rate has increased despite the fact that we have known that alcohol causes birth defects. This map shows the incidence of binge drinking in the U.S. The darker colors in the upper Midwest show that the binge drinking rate is higher than 20%. The rate in North Dakota has been as high as 38%. This is significant to FAS because the longer alcohol is present, the greater the damage. The young boy, his name's Adam. He was killed, unfortunately, when he was about 21. He stepped in front of a car. He didn't know it would kill him, so it was pretty unfortunate.
Gosh. So, like, is there a cure to this at all, or?
No, there's no cure. All you can really do is nurture and give a good environment and take care of them health-wise. That's all you can really do. There's nothing, you can't change it. It's irreversible.
Wow. So, like, does it affect life expectancy too? Does it, like?
Yeah, let's go on the internet once and see what they say, because the numbers change all the time, and because they're always researching. So you go back to that National Institute of Health website, and we can find that there. Yeah, there. Go to that link right there.
Okay.
That's a good one right there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like it's about the same. Life expectancy is 25 years for a full FAS child.
Wow.
Okay.
That's not very long.
No. Here, look at this link right here.
Okay.
It says, how common is it?
Yeah. Okay. So wow. That's wow.
Yeah, you see how
It's risen a lot.
it has risen a lot. The numbers have not gone down. Right. Right.
So that means so if I'm reading this correctly, it's in 1992 there were over just about 60,000 births with people with FAS.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or affected by alcohol.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's still going up, as you can see.
Gosh. So how does it happen again?
Well, whenever the mother drinks
Okay.
during the pregnancy,
Wow.
whenever that happens, there's no, they don't think there's any development that happens. So the example I was given was if the toenails develop partially during this time, if alcohol is there, then those won't develop, is what happens. That's what I understand.
So then if the mom has a drink while the baby's brain's developing, that's what can cause them to maybe not think very?
Yeah, yes, right.
What do they do with people like this? Like, how can they live and have a job? Where do they go?
It takes a lot of work. You've met Stephen, right?
Yes, I met.
Yes, and Stephen works at a facility that specializes in working with kids with disabilities.
Oh.
And he will spend his entire life living in a group home or working at a place like this. It's expensive, but that's all he can do.
So what does he do there?
He shreds paper, crushes cans. They have other tasks. It kind of varies from day to day. They try not to change it too much.
Yeah.
Try and keep it
So
norm.
if another good thing for them would be structure, that sort of thing?
Yeah, structure,
So
right.
turbulent sort of schedule isn't good for them.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Right, right.
Yeah. And I found sometimes when I talk to Steven, he like repeats what I say. Is that another thing where his mom had a drink while his brain was developing?
That's fairly common.
Like
That I think they call that parroting. He echoes what he hears sometimes.
Yeah.
It's difficult to understand. In fact, I think I'm not sure if he still does this, but when you ask him his address, he gives the address he learned when he was in high school. And that's not where he lives now.
Oh. Yeah. And also, one time I remember we were playing Monopoly with the guys over at the home, and Randy, it seemed like she couldn't see the colors on the game board. Is that another thing?
Yeah.
Affecting?
Yeah. It's hard to tell what is affected because it's so hard to communicate with them. Right.
There's no way of like searching that online.
It's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a
That's too bad.
lot of good information
Yeah.
out there on what it does and how it does it. And it is kind of scary, and we've known about it for a while.
Oh.
Since the early '70s, it was confirmed in the lab. They actually were able to say this is the cause.
Wow.
But we've known for a long time. We just haven't done much about it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they haven't had like commercials or anything like that. I don't think.
It's very difficult. Every once in a while, there's a billboard.
That's too bad. Well, thank you for answering my
Sure.
questions.
You bet. You bet. Yeah, keep looking. If you have any more, just let me know.
All right, thanks.
Here, this might help a little bit. I found this really good book that I got years ago.
Oh, okay.
It's called The Broken Cord.
Okay.
It's about a man who adopted a young boy with fetal alcohol syndrome.
Wow.
And it talks about the problems they had and the things that happened throughout his life. What is the boyfriend's, husband's, father's role about drinking while either trying to get pregnant or during pregnancy? And how should they best go about achieving that role?
I would say, personally, if I was in that role, I would stop drinking along with my wife. I gotta regain my thought process now. Oh, my role. Yeah, I would stop drinking along with them. I would try to support them and really just try and do what I could as far as not causing a temptation or anything like that. Sometimes if you're having a nice spaghetti dinner, a glass of wine would be nice with that. And so I know that My mother is at times when she's pregnant, she's wanted to have a glass of wine, and my dad will not drink during those pregnancies. So I think following his example and trying to do that, just trying to be understanding of the women in my life and supportive of them is the best thing that I can do.
Okay, you pause it.
Ready, Steve? Hi, I'm First Lady Mikey Hoven, reminding you to say no to alcohol. By saying no to underage drinking, you're saying yes to building a positive, happy, and healthy future for yourself. And you are the future of North Dakota. So as I've said to my kids over the years, be leaders, not followers, and say no to underage drinking. God bless you.